Hey everybody, me Bryson Booker, and the next thing I'm going to show you on my tutorial, the Soundcraft Signature 16, is auxiliaries. Now, the cool thing about these auxiliaries is they're derived from Soundcraft's GB series of consoles. They're basically live sound consoles on the market, still on the market today. But nothing too special about these auxiliary sends. So you have 3 of them here on the Soundcraft Signature 16. I believe they give you 4 on the Signature 22 and just 2 on the Signature 10 and 12. But with auxiliary sends, you basically can use them 2 ways. You can use them as monitor sends if you're using them for live sound, or you could use them as effects sends if you're using it for recording. And the cool thing about it is some consoles give you a specific amount of pre-fader auxiliary sends and post-fader auxiliary sends. For example, Mackie, on a Mackie VLZ32 console, you get 4 pre-auxiliary, or pre-fader auxiliary sends, and I think 2 post-auxiliary sends. So the post-auxiliary sends mean that anything that you do on your fader will also affect your auxiliary. But pre-fader obviously means anything that you do on this knob will not be affected by what you're doing to the front of house mix. So if you do something crazy on the front of house mix, you know, it won't affect the musician's monitor send. And so that's why you want pre-fade for monitors and post-fade for any other effects or compression that you may add to the signal, because you do want that to be also affected, you know, by what you do on the fader. But here what Soundcraft does is you actually have a choice to choose between pre or post fader for the auxiliary sends. Now keep in mind that these auxiliary sends are post EQ and post gain. So what does that mean? Your auxiliary send is affected by what you do on your gain, how you set your gain, as well as how you set your EQ. So if you're thinking about setting your EQ in a crazy way, or thinking about setting your gain in a crazy way, you will get feedback very quickly, because whatever you do up here is going to be affected by the auxiliary send. You know, whether that be in pre-fade or post-fader mode. So you have a choice. You could choose between pre-fader, obviously for monitors, and post-fader if you wanted to run an effect. You know, let's say you want to run a reverb and have a reverb return running into the channel. You could literally run a reverb return. You know, again, that's for setting effects. Not really recommended for use in monitors. But when it comes to using effects, that's why we have the post-fader function. But for recording and monitoring of instruments and vocals, you know, pre-fade is your best option. So again, you have that for each of the auxiliaries, whether it be pre or post. And then you have AFL. What AFL does basically allows you to monitor that signal being sent to your monitors. So that's what that means. AFL is after fader listen. So again, whatever coming through your auxiliary will then show up here on the meters. And then same thing, auxiliary masters, including the master for the effects right here. So that's why there's 4 auxiliary masters, because they actually included the effects return to be on an auxiliary. But to get your effects on this console to the auxiliaries, you have to set these at post fader. And again, that makes sense with what we talked about earlier. So yes, you can send reverbs and different things to musicians on stage, but keep in mind it has to be set down in the post fader mode, and whatever you do on your fader will also affect, you know, the effects going to the wedges on stage. So yes, if you're wondering, you can send a post fade effects send to your monitors. Or if you're in the studio, I think this is a bit more useful. You know, you can have your musician or singer singing, and basically they can say, hey, I want some effects in my monitors or my headphones, and you can easily do that by clicking the post fade and then turning up the effects send as well as the auxiliary send to put it in their monitor. So easy. The effects return, again, these are sending effects to these 3 auxiliaries here. Right here, this 4th auxiliary is basically an effects return. You know, so this is basically sending the effects to the front of house mix. On your playback channel 15 and 16, you have, again, the option to switch between pre or post fade on the first 2, I think first 2 or 3 auxiliaries. So basically the same thing. And that's really it when it comes to auxiliaries, guys, on the Soundcraft Signature 16 console.